Hello everyone. In this video I'm going to show you how I do an oil change on a 2018 VW Passat GT. This is a V6 and this car has about 21,000 miles and it's 700 miles overdue for its oil change. So this is the second time I do the oil change here. I thought I documented it last time, the first time I did it, which was really a discovery because I couldn't find much information out there on how to do this. So I thought I did it, but I didn't, so I figured I'd do it this time. So the first thing is I went for a quick ride around the block just to get it warmed up a little bit, and by the time I get it all set up, it'll be cool enough for me to work underneath. Oil fill cap is here, and the oil filter is on the bottom, and it does have an oil pan, and not an oil pan, a cover that covers the whole bottom of the entire bottom side of the engine, so that needs to come off. The car is pretty low to the ground, so I need to get that raised up, remove the cover, and get access to the oil filter and the drain plug. I have purchased a kit on ecstuning.com, and normally I've gathered all my parts from separate places and so on, but for the Passat, again, last year I could not find the right oil. As you see here on the sticker, this takes 50200, 50400, and reading the manual basically says that the equivalent is either 5W40 or 5W30. Again, of course, full synthetic, but it has to comply to the European standards and so on and so forth. So I ended up finding this kit on ECS Tuning last year. However, last year it came with castor oil, which is right here, 5W40 OE, professional OE, and I mean, it worked fine for the entire year that I've had it. I've had, in fact, very little oil consumption. I think it's probably down a half a quart in the 10,000 miles that it did over the course of the year. But again, this year it came instead with the original Audi VW oil. So it is still 5W40 like the other, like the Castrol was, but this is specifically 50200, 50500. So makes me feel a little bit better, I guess. Hopefully I'll be using this. Hopefully they'll have this available every time. I have a Beetle as well. I'm probably going to get the same kit equivalent for the Beetle also. So the kit came with the 6 quarts of oil. It came with the oil filter and the O-ring for the canister. This is the part number of the oil filter in case you want to know that specifically. It came with a replacement drain plug with washer built in, okay, which you can also buy this separately. All these pieces you can buy separately on their website. And then it came with an O-ring for the drain plug of the oil filter. So yes, because the oil filter is a canister type and it's underneath, when you open it, everything pours out. So there is actually a drain plug in the center that allows you to drain the oil inside the canister first, and then you can take the filter out. It even came with a sticker that you can put somewhere on your engine bay, for instance, perhaps to indicate when you change the oil, but I don't bother because the car tells me when to change the oil. So these are the parts. Now I'm gonna get this set up to be able to get under the car. Car up on jacks, which is a royal pain because there isn't a secondary point to put the jack, the hydraulic jack, and so the jack and the safety stands compete for space. So I go right behind the lifting point and just very carefully lift it, and it does dent up a little bit, but that's just the way it is. I had Hondas, and they had a nice heavy beam right here in the center. You could go in the front, put the jack there, lift it up, the whole thing would come up, and put the jacks where they belong, the safety jacks. And similar in the back, there was a support bracket that allowed you to support it from the center. These cars, and I've had Audis as well, they just don't have that, and it is a pain every time, but it is what it is. So I'm considering getting ramps to hopefully speed this up, which I will probably do. So here's what the cover looks like, and it pretty much covers the entire engine. To get it out, you have to get these screws out, which are Torx. See if I can read this. This is T25, and okay, so these little Torx screws, they are not quarter turn, they do come all the way out, and they are here. Let's see, right here. Okay, 1, 2, 3 going around. There are big ones over there. I'll tell you in a minute what size those are. Okay, keep going around. There's another one over here. You can't see it. There is 2 more over here. You can't see them. And then 1 more over here. So a total of, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 screws. Again, I don't remember exactly, but I don't believe you have to take anything out on the front fascia here where the bumper is. Essentially, these fingers are what hold the cover in place on the front edge. So make sure that when you put it back, these fingers all stick out. Okay. So let me figure out what size this is, and I'll give you that information. Okay, so those bolts nuts are T45s, and by the way, there was 1 more screw over there. So I said there were 7, there were actually 8 screws all the way around. So as soon as you drop the back nuts, bolts, this whole thing drops down in the back, and I usually support it somehow with my knee or something, and then just kind of slide it towards the back of the car, and the whole thing comes off. Okay, I don't like to scratch it, so I put it down gently out of my way. Okay, so when I'm under here, I like to inspect my my boots there to make sure they're not cracked. This is virtually a new car, so theirs are still good. Just kind of do a cursive inspection, make sure there are no strange leaks. Like for instance, this. I don't know what that is. So looks like there is some seepage somewhere. Oh, but that's open there, so if you know where that's coming from, the oil pan is a little warm to the touch, so be careful. So I mean, that's just very little seepage. I checked the semi-axles here. Again, I see some wet stuff over there too, so I don't know. Okay, so here's the oil filter, and here is the drain plug I was talking about. Okay, so this looks pretty clean as well. Again, a little bit of seepage right there. Okay, so I mean, it's just barely damp. So and that plug is going to get replaced with the O-ring, and then there is an O-ring right here in this cup, so that gets replaced, so it shouldn't be a problem. Love to know why this is wet, but right here, don't know. So that's so the next step is to open the drain plug and let the oil drain out of here. Actually, I'm first gonna see if I remember what this is. I'm gonna drain the oil out of this. The nice thing about this is that the plug is in the back side and the car is tilted that way towards the back, so you know, don't have to really bother with lowering the car to let it drain properly and so on. So I'm gonna drain the oil here, and then I'm gonna open this plug over there and let it all drain out a little bit, and I will be back when that is in progress. The oil is draining, shot out very vigorously, so almost went out of the pan, but it's coming out nice and smooth. It is, I mean, it is a year old. It's 10,000 miles, so it is not super bad. It's not clear, but It's a 10,000 mile oil. So I'm gonna let that drain. I only have one pan. Let that drain, and then make sure you have a pan big enough, because this is 6 quarts of oil. I watched a video, somebody commented about plastic oil pans. I don't see what the problem is with a plastic oil pan. I've been using this for 20 years and it's never been a problem. So anyways, I will let this drain out and then move to the oil filter drain. The plug size, at least the one that I put in last year, not the OEM, because I took that out last year. This is the one that again came with the kit from ECS Tuning last year. The size of this is 17 millimeters, so nice tight fit. I mentioned that when I drain the oil, I open the cap that removes any airlock, makes it flow smoother. And I do it afterwards, right? Because if you open it before you take that plug out, then it's really going to shoot out on you. So this way, it has a little more resistance and it prevents any spillage. I do use a towel just in case. By the way, I don't know that I mentioned it, but the kit from ECS for this oil change was just about $69. So is it a good deal? It's a good deal from a standpoint that it comes all together in one box. You do it and you're done. And you do have about a half a quart left. So if you need to, add a little bit more throughout the year, then you have that. I didn't have to do that. I was really surprised. In my Audi Q5, I had to add a quart every 5,000 miles. So basically in between, halfway in between oil changes. This one doesn't burn, or not that one burnt, it just used it up. But this one doesn't use up oil as. All right, so I'm getting ready to take out that oil filter plug. So the plug takes a number 6 millimeter socket. I don't know what these sockets are called. This is a CR-10 6 millimeter. But so that's what that a hex socket. And also one thing to note is this piece of plastic here, this cable is going to get in the way. Okay, so to remove it, you just lift this little tab over here. That releases the ratchet action there, and then one hand is not okay. So then the whole thing comes out, and you can take that out of the way. And this hose right here can be pushed up. Normally it's down like this. Okay, so it can just be pushed up temporarily. Careful not to snap this one. And so now it's free access. And again, with this socket, can go right in there and take that out. I have plugged the oil pan in the back, oil drain in the back, so I can use the oil pan now, and I'll be taking this out. All right, so there's a good amount of oil that comes out of that hole. This time I managed not to get all over my hands. I basically just loosened up the screw and held it up against the hole as long as I could, and then I just let go of the whole thing and let the plug drop. Here's what the plug looks like. Oops. Okay, so that O-ring is what needs to be replaced when you before you put this back. I can't see it, but it is still draining a bit. There it goes. So I mean, there is definitely a good amount of oil in that filter, so it's a good practice to do it that way. When you put the O-ring back, okay, I like to clean all the surfaces and put the O-ring back, and then wet it with oil, so that way when it goes in there it doesn't break. And actually, thinking about it, that's probably what that seepage on the filter was. It's just the oil that I put on the outside of this thing, of the O-ring, and over time it just kind of wets the housing a little bit. So but no big deal, very little there. I'm about to take out the filter canister, And to unscrew that baby, you need a socket. Okay, so I purchased this a few years ago for my Q5 on eBay. It is 36 millimeter, and it works fine. I mean, those things don't go in with much pressure, so this is metal, and it works good. For my Beetle, I didn't bother buying one. I happen to have Harbor Freight socket set, impact socket set, and that's what I use for the Beetle. It's 32 millimeter, I believe. But anyways, this is not about the Beetle. So this is the socket needed, 36 millimeters to take out the filter canister. So I have unscrewed the filter, and as you can see, there is more oil pouring out on the side over there. So it is held in place probably by this hose, but it is completely unscrewed. So I'm just going to let it drain a little bit so that I don't make a complete mess. So always keep that oil pan underneath this thing. All right, I'm going to do this on video live with one hand. So let's see what happens, if I can, that is. Okay, so get the hose out of the way. A few more turns. And this little hose is probably going to be in my way. Nope, too late. Got oil on my hands. Try to tug down a little bit as I unscrew it. Okay, here it goes. Oh, warm oil on my hands. Okay. Straight down. And here it is. Okay. That's what that looks like. A little bit more cleaning to do, and then this is going to go back in. So the O-ring is right here. I know you can't see that, but it's right there. Change that out, change the filter. That should come out easily and snap back in. And I am going to put the plug on the bench, so that way I don't turn the whole canister when I'm trying to tighten up the plug. And that's what I'm doing next. Okay, I gave it a bit of a cleaning, and I've already replaced the O-ring. And when you put it back, again, put some oil on the plastic housing itself, clean oil, and then rub more oil on the O-ring, and then kind of twist the O-ring back and forth to make sure that it slides nicely. And again, that's to make sure that it doesn't jam when you tighten this back up. I'm going to put the nut back in now. O-ring already replaced. Get the old ones out of the way. And by the way, these little pick tools from Harbor Freight, they're great to get these O-rings out. I used to use a screwdriver, a small blade screwdriver, but these are much nicer and definitely do a better job. So worth the $3, whatever it was. So I'm going to put this back in, and the housing there is well drained, actually still dripping, and I'm just going to wipe that up a little bit and then put the filter back in. The filter just snaps in. As you can see on the bottom, it has, can't see it, it has these little fingers, so it snaps in there, and then you can just put the whole thing back up. So filter's back in. I had to do it off camera because I wanted to use two hands. Make sure that it goes in nice and straight and it spins freely all the way in, pretty much down to the last couple of threads, and get this wire out of the way. This was really the only casualty of the oil spill. I'm sure that with the heat, this whatever seepage that's on here will burn up. Put this back inside the holder there, and that's it. It's ready to go. It says on the oil filter 25 Newton meters, so it doesn't take much to tighten this. So basically, I don't bother getting my my tool out to measure that, but my ratchet. But basically, when it stops, it's there. Again, it just has to sit flush with the housing. So that's it. I'm gonna put the cover back in, And actually what I'm going to do first, I'm going to put the first probably 4 quarts of oil. That should definitely give me a sense whether there's any leakage, but again, this is all pretty straightforward. And once the 4 or 5 quarts of oil are in, I am going to drop the car, and I'm going to put the cover back on and then drop the car, and the job is done. So we'll see what happens. All right, so the oil change is done. Like I said earlier, I have added 5 quarts, checked for leaks, put the cover back up, dropped the car, added the remaining 0.8 quarts, which is what the manual calls for. The total capacity with the filter change is 5.8 quarts. Checked the level, it looks good. I've even checked my radiator fluid. That takes G12 special Audi VW fluid, so make sure you don't put the Prestone stuff. I did have to add a little bit. I have that. Check my windshield washer fluid. I checked the filter. I opened the air box and the filter looks nice and clean. Just blew some air through it and it looks good. And I'm going to check tire pressure now. And then finally, of course, don't forget to reset your service warning on the dash. I'm sure there is a procedure to do it through the console, the dash itself, which is probably what I did last year. However, I have a Carista dongle, which I highly recommend. It allowed me to do a few changes to the way the car behaves, like coming home lights and needle sweeps on the dash and so on. I bought it a long time ago when Carista first came to be. So I managed to be able to beta test the software and provide some feedback. It's pretty good. The Q5 that I used to have needs the rear brakes to be released when you do a rear brake replacement, so that tool does that. And it allows you to reset the service interval as well as the inspection interval separately. My son has it now. As soon as I get it back, I will be resetting the oil change warning, and this baby is ready for another year of work. Also, by the way, on my channel, Scrap Metal Works, I have one other video on this car anyways, regarding the rear hitch, trailer hitch installation, which again, I didn't find any videos out there about it, so I did that as well. So enjoy, and again, good luck with your project. Bye.